Wildguarder sent me this NR1 night vision monocular to review. It's got an 8x optical zoom, 3x digital zoom, which makes a total zoom of 24 times. It's fitted with a 3.1 inch TFT display with a little eyepiece there that magnifies that when you're looking through the monocular. Video recorded at 1080p 30 frames per second. It will take photographs at a higher resolution than that. Comes fitted with a 4800 mAh battery. It's got two IR lights, an 850 and 940 nanometers, both of which can be focused and moved around so that you can actually use them on the camera if they're not pointing in exactly the right direction, which is a very handy feature. It's fitted with a laser pointer, and it's also got built-in Wi-Fi so that you can connect it to an app that can be used with this device. This is the image with no magnification. I'm going to use the optical magnification now, take it to 8. So finally we've got some deer in the garden. It's taken me 2 nights to get this shot. So I'm trying to let you see what I can see through the viewfinder, but I'm finding it very difficult because light's leaking in everywhere. So I know that's not perfect, but it might give you an idea. This is the setup that I've been using for the majority of the film, and you can see that I've got the monocular mounted on its side, so it's horizontal. The next set of clips you'll see have been filmed with this mounted vertically, and I've just used my video editing software to flip the image round. If you don't have any software, then that might be an issue if you want to record video with it. If you're filming with the monocular mounted vertically, this is what the video actually looks like when you download it. So you can actually move the IR lights around, and they zoom in and out to give you a more focused beam. It's just pulling the actual lens backwards and forwards, and you can move them up and down and left and right. Now I've got this mounted on a very steady tripod if you're wondering why it's so steady. This is the packaging. Obviously we've got the operating instructions that were inside the box, and then inside the case we've got a strap, the monocular. This is a rifle scope mount, and it's got varying reducers there, so it will allow for different sizes of rifle scopes. This bag, there are 2 Allen keys, 2 really thin rubber O-rings, and therefore actually attaching the unit to a scope on a rifle, and then 4 little grub screws, and I don't know what they're for. I don't know what that's for yet. Hopefully this will tell us. This is a CD, and it's obviously got software of some description on it. There is a lead there which is USB to micro USB. There is also a lens which was wrapped inside this lens cleaning cloth, and I do not know what that is for. I'm just hoping that when we download the software it will give us a little bit more information. And a battery charger that connects to a USB socket. So that's everything that comes in the box. So this is a battery compartment, and if I open that, you can also see that there is a 4800 milliamp battery included as well. The battery requires charging straight out of the box. I plugged it into the charger and plugged the charger in, and as you can see it's indicating red. The indicator is blue, which means the battery is fully charged. I don't know how long it took to charge, but I do know that it took longer than 9 hours. So it took a long time to charge. I'm going to look at the bottom of the monocular first. You can see we've got 4 threaded sockets there. They will take a normal tripod mount. So you can mount it on a tripod. This is also designed to fit on a rifle. Now there are two ways to fit it on the rifle. You can slot the lens at the front onto a scope that's already fitted to the rifle, or you can buy an adapter that allows you to fit it directly onto the rifle and use it without a scope, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the video. But the reason I've decided to show you this first is because I've made a bracket for it. The reason that I've done that is because I intend to use this as a monocular, not for hunting, and I want to be able to mount it horizontally on a tripod, which is something that you can't do with this as it comes out of the box. I think it's also worth mentioning after using this that it would be better to be horizontal on a gun rather than vertical, because you've got a wider field of view. The lens that was wrapped in this lens cloth is for people that find it difficult to read smaller print, that type of thing. You might find, even if you don't have that problem, that this lens makes it a little bit better when you're viewing through the eyepiece. So I'll fit it now and I'll make sure the lenses are all clean. I've cleaned all of this. Just pick it up, drop it on the top there, and then try and get it horizontal. And you've got to put a bit of force on it to push it in. And make sure it's pushed all the way home. And that's it fitted. Now, that's not easy at all. It's very difficult, and I do think they need to come up with a better way than that. Saying that, it certainly improves the eyepiece for me. And then the cup just slots over the lens. And you can see how easy that went on. It comes off really easily as well. So bear that in mind. Looking at the left-hand side of the monocular, you can see there's a power button there. You have to hold that down for 3 seconds, and then it will switch on. Now you can see we've got a blue light there that just came on. If you press that again, you see the blue lights come on and staying on. That's in standby mode. Notice when it's in standby or sleep mode that the blue LED is lit. So if I press this again, you'll notice that that goes out because it is now switched back on again. So this button, if I press it down and keep it pressed down, you'll notice that it switches on the laser. And again, a long press switches off the laser. I've turned on the laser pointer and you can see this is how it's arrived from the factory, which is pretty poor really. What I'm going to do is align that with the centre of the crosshairs, and there are 2 little grub screws above and on the side, and the smallest Allen key is used to adjust those. So all I'm going to do is line that dot with the centre of the crosshairs. So I'll put the Allen key in the top grub screw, and as you can see I'm turning it clockwise and that dot is moving down. So I'll take it in line with the horizontal cross piece on the, which is there, and now I'm going to put it in the grub screw on the side, which is on the right hand side of the pointer, and I'm turning that clockwise, and that's good enough. There is the grub screw on the top, there is a grub screw on the side. Short presses of this button switch between video, photo and playback. Underneath here there is a micro USB socket, a mini HDMI socket. This is where the micro SD card goes in. This here is the focus wheel, and this here is the zoom wheel. On the right hand side there is another mount there, I don't know what that's for, but this is a battery compartment, and you'll notice the polarity of the battery is indicated on the casing there. The monocular comes with this adapter, which is to allow you to mount a scope onto the front of it there, directly in front of the lens. So remove that, slot in the correct compression ring, screw this back on again, slide it over the scope and tighten it up. So that will allow you to mount it directly onto the monocular, just in front of the objective lens, and it turns it from being a night vision monocular into a night vision rifle scope. So that just pushes on there and clicks into place. Now the issue that I've got with that setup is it makes it exceptionally long. But what you can do is you can remove this eyepiece. There are 4 little grub screws that hold that in, and just use a 3.1 inch screen without the eyepiece. I made a homemade rifle scope a few years ago, it's on YouTube, and this was a similar setup to what I had, where I was actually using a screen, and it worked really well. So this system works pretty well like this. The only thing is that it lights your face up. I do think though that the best option is to buy the adapter to fit it directly onto the rifle and do away with all of this. To remove the adapter, you pull that button in and remove it. These are the 2 infrared lights, which I would describe as infrared torches. They've got quite a long range. This first one is 940 nanometers and the second one is 850 nanometers. So you'll notice that these pull out, and that actually narrows or widens the beam. So basically, the further away the target is, the sharper you want the beam to be, so that you get it in the right area. Now, the other thing that you'll notice is it moves very slightly within its socket, and the same goes for this one as well. So as well as being able to focus the beam, you can also move the beam so it's in the center of the image, which is very handy. This is the battery compartment, and this is the laser just there. And I can show you the infrared light, how it pulls out to adjust the beam. That tightens the beam, that broadens the beam. The same goes with the one underneath it. So the button in the center is kind of the shutter button. If you give that a short press, it will start recording videos or take a photograph. If it's recording video, if you press that again, it will stop recording video. But a long press will take you into the camera menu, and then as you go through the menu options, a short press will select whichever option you've got highlighted on the menu. Long press to come out of the menu. These two buttons are for the digital zoom. It's got a 3x digital zoom. That's minus and that is plus. A long press of this button will switch between daytime and nighttime vision. This button and this button, when it's in infrared mode, will either increase or decrease the infrared intensity. Another thing worth pointing out, if you're using this in bright conditions, this acts as a very good lens hood, and it will give you much better video if the sun is affecting your objective lens. So I've connected the HDMI lead to the camera, and I'm going to turn on the menu now with a long press in the center button. So my finger's on it now, and there you can see we've got the menu. So you can see the first thing that we come to on the menu is reticle adjustment. If I press the center button, it brings up the reticle adjustment screen. To select different crosshairs, use the button on the right hand side of the cross. So there are 7 different reticles, and we've got different colors. So you can go green, red, white and black. And then if I go to X and Y, that allows you to zero the reticle with the gun. So you can move it left or right, up or down, so that the reticle is in the right place if you're using this as a rifle scope. LCD brightness. The Wi-Fi allows this monocular to speak to an app, and I'll show you the app a little bit later on in the video. So you can see that we've got different auto power off times. You can set the exposure, record audio. Now there is a microphone on this camera. There is a built-in microphone on this unit. I can't see where the actual microphone is. Date stamp means that if you record video, it will put the time and the date on. You'll be able to see what time and date it was recorded. You can set up the date and time, set up the language, format the SD card, switch everything back to default settings, and check what the firmware version is. The menu system is pretty intuitive as soon as you've learned which button does what. You can connect the monocular to an app. It's called VF Cam. Enable Wi-Fi on the monocular, go into settings and select that Wi-Fi signal, connect to it, then click on connect camera, and you'll notice then that we've actually got the camera now connected to the app. Now I'm not going to go through the app in detail because it will take too long and the video is already too long, but I will say that it's fairly simple to use and the instructions are pretty good at explaining what you can do with it. I've been using this for a few days now and I must say that I am impressed with it, but when I first started using it I was not impressed with it at all. Now there's an issue with my eyesight. Fitting that second lens solved that for the most part. But even now, when I'm looking at the screen, I can't get it to focus properly. Now, I thought that was a problem with this, but it turns out that it's not a problem with this, it's a problem with my eyesight. That is why I used my phone to try and get a look at the image by putting the phone inside the eyepiece. And I could see from that that what the phone was seeing was a lot clearer than what I was seeing. So I think if you've got issues with eyesight, you might have 1 or 2 issues with this. Adding that second lens gets rid of a lot of those issues, and the more I've used it, the more I've enjoyed using it. Now, I've got no intention of using this as a rifle scope, and I think it's very good as a night vision monocular. I like the image it produces. It's got quite a long range. The maximum I've been able to use it at is 170 meters, and that is because my garden is surrounded by trees. That's as far as I can get with it, about 170 meters. But I've really enjoyed going out on a night time and looking at the wildlife in the garden with this. Now, one thing I've got to comment about is the instructions. They are absolutely atrocious. For example, I don't know whether you can charge the battery while it's fitted to the monocular by connecting a micro USB cable. There's no mention of that in the instructions. I don't know whether it's possible to transfer video using the micro USB cable connected to a computer. I've not figured out how to do that, but there's nothing mentioned about that in the instructions. I could go on and on and on. There are glaring gaps in the instructions. One of the worst things was fitting the second lens in here. Now, it took me ages to figure out how to do that because the instructions were so vague and there were no diagrams to show you how to do it. There are LEDs on here, a red one and a blue one. I don't know what they do because they're not mentioned in the instructions. I could go on and on and on. So Wildguarder do need to sort the instructions out. They are very poor. However, it is a good monocular, and making that bracket that allowed me to mount it horizontally has been a game changer for me. Because I've been using this for about 4 nights now and I've really enjoyed taking it outside. Now, I took it outside so I could film stuff for the video, but it's actually quite enjoyable because I'm seeing a lot more stuff that I wouldn't normally see. So I'm really pleased that they've asked me to review this. Now, I hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for watching and please take care.